Good evening, everyone. Welcome to another episode of On Deck here on FTSN. I'm Russ Morgan. Sorry for a little later start. I was talking to my producer Bobby Finstock about I'm going securing tickets to go down opening day for the World Baseball Classic on Friday. Probably end up seeing Venezuela, Netherlands, which will be a great game. Venezuela is great. Netherlands has some great ball players too, because obviously Curacao and Aruba are both Kingdom of Netherlands, so they got good ball players, and they actually knocked out Netherlands last year or the year before, a couple years ago, the last one or the year before. But just talking about the area, because I've never been to Miami, even though I do live in Florida, I've never been down there, so I don't. We're kind of just he was kind of giving me spots to if I decide to stay. Him being from Miami, he knows the better locations than me. I've never been, so I want to get a good idea of a person who's there to get a good good couple spots where I could pick from. It's very nice to have only nice thing being on FTSN, besides me getting bashed for being a Jets fan, which I really don't care. It's good for me when I'm on the Dolphins show. Here I'm a Yankees fan, but we're talking all 30. But nice for this part, because I got people on this network who have personal experience living in Miami, so they know the locations to stay. They know the better areas, because so that's great, and I definitely appreciate that. But today we're doing the NL Central, and we're gonna there is some World Baseball Classic news, which I'm stoked for. I love the WBC. But tonight, talking about the World Baseball Classic, sorry, the NL Central. So, baseball right around the corner. We're here in February. Pitchers and catchers report here, February 14th, I want to say it is. So, we're 10 days out. Spring training right around the corner starts on, I think the first game is the 22nd. And NL Central definitely this year, it's a little different. Last year Brewers runaway best team in baseball. End of the year 97-65, getting the number one seed in the NL, and obviously the best record in baseball. Take care of business, beat the Cubs in 5 games, but get swept by the Dodgers in the NLCS. And the Brewers, definitely, it's a little interesting there on the Brewers side, because they haven't made much moves. On the Brewers side, definitely haven't made much moves. Lost free agent Rhys Hoskins, Shebden Milber, Jordan Montgomery, Jose Quintana. They re-signed Brandon Woodruff, who would have been a big piece of that rotation if he was healthy. I think that kind of would have helped, maybe lengthening that series would have been a big piece of that rotation, but he wasn't healthy. But the big news for the Brewers is, they come out beginning of the year, the owner comes out and says we can't afford Freddie Peralta. He's on the last year of his deal. I think he's making $8 million. Which they did this when Corbin Burns was on the last year of his deal, that they couldn't afford him. So they couldn't afford Freddie Peralta. Now, I know what me being a Yankees fan and having a lot of friends who are Dodgers fans, what people say about that. Spend the money, these guys are billionaires, but you got to look at what they revenue. And the Brewers are on the lower half of the revenue. So, they go out, they said they couldn't afford Freddie Peralta. So what did they do? They trade Freddie Peralta, who's the ace of that staff, who had an unbelievable year to the New York Mets. Definitely going to be a massive hit to that rotation. They receive shortstop outfielder Jet Williams, who could see some time this year in the big leagues, and pitcher Brandon Sproat. Sproat definitely could see some time in that rotation. He could definitely be getting a call up. because of that loss of Peralta, obviously trading Peralta, but also if you did watch the Brewers this past year, they were that starting rotation is very thin. Excuse me. And I mean, so I mean, you lose Peralta. I think Sproat's going to fit nicely into that rotation whenever he gets that call up. Yeah, I mean, this guy, highly touted guy, one of those three with Josh Tong, with Nolan McLean, and Sproat with the Mets. So they trade one of them away. I think he's definitely going to fit in there. They did make a couple small acquisitions. Akil Baddoo from the Royals, and then trading for Angel Zerby. I mentioned the Woodruff re-signed. Woodruff has been there for a while, but up and down with injuries. I mean, you do have some great bats. You're returning Jackson Chirino, who, great outfielder. You have Joey Ortiz. Sorry, Joey Ortiz at shortstop. Caleb Durbin, who was a Rookie of the Year, in that Rookie of the Year conversation. Yeah, the outfield is solid whenever you get Garrett Mitchell back, who's been off injured his whole career. You do have still Freelick, and then obviously Chirino. And then you have all-star, around you have behind the dish William Contreras, who's definitely one of the better catchers in baseball. Then you have Brian Terang. I'm forgetting his first name. Bryce Terang, who is looking like one of the better second basemen in baseball. Definitely one of the better defensive second basemen in baseball. So I mean, with the loss of Peralta, I mean, you still have a very solid outfield. If you have Jackson Chirino is a rising all-star, batted 270 this year. You have Sal Frelick, and then if you can get Garrett Mitchell back, you're pretty solid on the outfield. Around the dirt, they're pretty solid. They're just, Caleb Durbin, who's nails defensively at third base, and for a guy so small, swings a great bat. Joey Ortiz, who's part of that Corbin Burns deal, did a very solid job at short base. You have Terang at second, then you have Andrew Vaughn, who they picked up from the White Sox. So around there, but I think the biggest question for the Brewers is what they do with their pitching staff. I mean, their bullpen looks solid. You still have Trevor Meagle, who's was the best closer in baseball last year. What are they going to do with those other starters? But I think their starting rotation is the biggest question mark for them. When you got Brandon Woodruff, if he can stay healthy, you have Quinn Priester, Logan Henderson, and Jacob Mizorowski, who in limited innings was solid, but he wasn't going past five innings. I mean, this guy throws 100 mile per hour fastball. Will we see him lengthen it out more this year? I think their fifth starter rotation, the fifth guy in that rotation, is going to be definitely left up in the air. It's going to be definitely a coin flip. My guess for that fifth guy would be Aaron Ashby, who we saw making that opener role and in the playoffs a lot. So I think right off the bat, he will be that number 5 starter. But I think Brandon Sproat fits into their timeline that they want after you traded Peralta. But I will say this team does a very good job of developing young talent, but I think their biggest question mark for them is that starting rotation. But I think they take a step back. But I've been saying that for the last 2 years. The first time I started this show, I didn't see the Brewers getting it done and making the playoffs, and they did. And then last year, I didn't see them being the best team in Major League Baseball, and they did. So I've underestimated them. But I think that starting rotation with the injuries they have, with Woodruff, with Mizorowski, who definitely, can he lengthen himself, and that number 4 and 5 slot with Ashby. I think they're going to take a step back this year. The Cubs, who finished 92-70, they lost in the NLDS to the Brewers in 5 games. They did make some serious acquisitions. They did make a lot of moves. Obviously, they kicked it off. Shohei Imanaga accepted his qualifying offer, so he's back. So you add that to his pitching staff. You go out, you sign Alex Bregman from the Red Sox, who was a free agent this year, who was saying he would love to come back to Miami, to Boston, but that's a massive sign. This guy, yes, he's a little on the older side. I think he's 32, but he is a Gold Glove third baseman. That was an unbelievable sign. You trade for Edward Cabrera from the Marlins. I think that's unbelievable. That staff is looking like one of the better staffs definitely in the NL. I mean, with the loss of Kyle Tucker, who went signed with the Dodgers, Seiya Suzuki's going to probably return back to right field, but we could see Kevin Alcantara, who was a highly touted prospect, got a little cup of coffee. You could see him getting some time in there. What happens with the DH role? You have Moises Ballesteros, who's right now the backup catcher, but he's a highly touted guy. Could see some time there. Behind the plate, Matt Shaw, who was a starting third baseman last year, probably moving to that super utility role. Definitely see some time in the outfield, third base, second base. They signed Tyler Austin. That name's been out. If you know baseball, Tyler Austin jumped on the scene as a rookie because him and Aaron Judge were the first pair of rookies to go back-to-back home run. Tyler, and he's been in PB for a while, so maybe he gets a little DH work. But I mean, on the defensive side, they're very good defensively. We'll see what Suzuki does in right field. Right now is penciled in right field for Japan in the World Baseball Classic. But you have Pete Crow Armstrong, who is a great defensive center fielder. You have Ian Happ, who is on an expiring contract. So I think he's going to have a big year. Same thing with Nico Horner, who's on the last year of his deal. I think they're going out for big years because they're going to go out. I think the strength, which are really the strength of this team, is that starting pitching. I mean, you've got Imanaga, who when he's on, he's very good. You add Edward Cabrera, who we all saw what he did, had a career year in Miami. Can he rebound on that? You have Matthew Boyd, who's coming off an all-star year. You have Justin Steele, who's coming off an injury, see how he does. But also, you got Cade Horton, who had a phenomenal year, really finished the year strong, ended up getting hurt. But I'm ready for a full year of seeing Horton. So I got high hopes for the Cubs this year because of that pitching staff, with the addition of adding Alex Bregman with all his playoff experience, his World Series experience with the Astros. I think this team's going to be a really serious contender in the NL because of that pitching staff. But you also bring in that experience, that playoff experience, that MLB experience with Hoyner, with Bregman. I also want to see what Suzuki does, because there has been a consistent factor with players recently and that have played in the World Baseball Classic that have started really hot. And Suzuki is penciled in at right field for Japan. I want to see what he does. And I think he's going to finally there. If you have seen players, majority of players like to go out and play defense and they hit better when they're playing defense. So I think his bat's going to really pick up because of it, because he's got to play some defense. My third team or the third team in the NL Central last year was the Cincinnati Reds. They were 83-79. They got swept in the wild card round by the Dodgers. They made a lot of smaller moves, but they did just sign Eugenio Suarez to a 1-year, $15 million deal for a guy who's got 50-plus home runs. Now I know he's on the older side. He's not the best defensive third baseman, and you do have Ke'Bryan Hayes there at third base, who is a very good defensive third baseman. First base kind of wide open. You have Spencer Steer right there, but I think that's a great addition for them. Let's see. Let me get my Reds. I mean, on the guys, you don't lose much. You lose Nick Martinez, hasn't signed anywhere. Miguel Andujar is still a free agent, would be a name, but I mean, the Suarez is the big deal. You had JJ Bleday, who could play outfield, and maybe he comes. Had a couple decent times there. I mean, you add Emilio Pagan, Caleb Ferguson, a lot of smaller deals. I mean, you trade Gavin Lux, which is a big one. You lose Austin Hayes. But the one thing I really like about this Red team is it's kind of been the same with the Cubs as the Reds as their starting pitcher. You have Hunter Green, who was looking like an ace last year, finally looking like that number one pick that everybody was dreaming out coming out of Notre Dame Sherman Oaks High School in Sherman Oaks, California, who had a great year. You got Brady Singer, who, on that last year, on the expiring deal, the last year of his deal, so he'll be a free agent next year, so I could see him come out big. You have Nick Lodolo, big time lefty, and I really want to see what they do with a full year of seeing Chase Burns, because now we're going to see a full year of Chase Burns with that slider, with that speed he's got, a full year. You also, what's going to happen with I think he was 7th overall pick out of Wake Forest, Rhett Lauder. But I think this is kind of my dark horse team. I think they're going to make some noise. For some reason, I really like Cincinnati Reds, and I think they're going to be a dark horse. I think they could push for that NL Central. I say it every year. I've been wrong 2 years in a row, but I'm going to stick with it. But also, there's one reason. You got Terry Francona. You got Tito as your manager. The guy is baseball through and through. I've been on other podcasts, not just my own, another baseball podcast. There's one manager, being a Yankees fan, I know where he coached before, I would love, and that's Terry Francona. Also, if you didn't know, my college team is University of Arizona. Football, I follow the football, but we're starting to get better at football. But it's not it's a basketball school right now. Arizona, the number one team in the nation, so there it is. But they're baseball. Terry Francona, University of Arizona baseball. But that's why I think it's the second year of Tito, of Francona there. I really think they're going to figure something out. This guy's baseball manager through and through. The Pirates were 71-91, but they surprisingly made a couple moves. I mean, you trade for Brandon Lau from the Rays. You add Ryan O'Hearn from the Orioles. You get Jake Mangum, who a guy I love, gritty guy out of Mississippi State, was with the Rays, a grinder. I love that deal. You get Joaquin. I'm not even gonna try with his first name. Garcia from the outfielder from the Red Sox. I think they made some good moves. Surprisingly, the one thing I'm looking at, minus what everybody looks at with the Pirates, is what they've been putting out, that they're going to give number one overall MLB prospect Connor Griffin a shot to win shortstop out of spring training. I mean, I've seen this. Pirates here are in Bradenton. very close to where I am. The stadium right down the street. And I went out to one of the games, and this guy's 18, 19 years old. So I'll probably be 20 going into the year, almost, in the year. Uh, the kid's a dude. I mean, the actions at shortstop, good actions at shortstop. Can play outfield if he needs it, but he's got good actions at shortstop, good baseball smarts for a 19-year-old guy, and he was hanging his own with these former big leaguers. I think that's the big one. Now we all know what draws anybody to the Pirates, which if you're not, it's Paul Skeens. And Paul Skeens, Cy Young winner, Rookie of the Year. He was, he's dominant. Probably going to be the, right there with the World Baseball Classic, best 1-2 punch for Team USA with Skeens and Skubal right off the bat. I don't know who I think it's Mark DeRosa's or head coach. Who do you go to in a big must-win game if you're playing a semifinal game or the championship? You got to win a quarterfinal game. Who are you giving the ball to? Is it Skubal, who's back-to-back AL Cy Young, or is it Paul Skeens? I have no clue. I think that'd be the hardest decision to make as a coach. But Skeens last year, can you see this guy last year was 10-10 with a 1.97 ERA. I mean, he's given up less than a run, almost less than 2 runs a game, and he lost 10 freaking games. Ten games, and he's got a 1.97 ERA. 1.97 ERA. I mean, I don't know what the Pirates are going to do when this guy, because he's going to be getting a large deal. We all see what Shohei got, but we all saw what Kyle Tucker got, just annual earnings, AAV he got. What is this guy going to get? 400, 500, 600? I mean, he's 23, will be a free agent, 26? What is he going to get? But also you're seeing – we're kind of seeing what we're seeing right now with Skubal, who's in arbitration. He's in arbitration right now, and they're in trial. They listed Skubal at $19 million a year. He wants 32. This guy's worth 32 is a steal. I'd give him 32 in a heartbeat if he wants to come to the Yankees. This guy's a $45 million pitcher. Than what we're seeing, they wanted to give him 19. Pay him the 32. So I'm wondering what's going to happen with Paul Skeens. But, I mean, with them, the pitching for Pittsburgh, I mean, you made some moves. You still have O'Neal Cruz there. You got Garcia from there from the Red Sox. But the pitching, I mean, you're going to get Jared Jones back from injury, who went down with Tommy John. You have Bubba Thompson. You have Mitch Keller. You have Braxton Ashford. And then the reports coming out recently where they're in on Framber Valdez, who hasn't even, got any sniffs. Was rated as a top 100 player in the MLB by MLB.com, and is still a free agent. So, I mean, I think this team's not going to be competitive, this playoff team this year, but if they figure it out, start putting a little money into the organization, they could be a team to watch. They got some good young players. Oh man, I messed that one up. And the last team there would be the Cardinals. I don't even write anything about the Cardinals because it's I didn't even write anything about the Cardinals, but we can talk about what they because this team is full on tank mode. It's disgusting. I mean, You trade Wilson Contreras to the Red Sox. You trade Sonny Gray. You trade Sonny Gray to the Red Sox as well. Nolan Arenado to the Diamondbacks. You just trade Brendan Donovan. But they got some big prospects from there, but you trade Donovan. You do sign Dustin May to a one-year deal. Brandon Clark was part of that Red Sox trade. Richard Fisk, same thing. Hunter Dobbins. Jurangelo Sin. I don't even know what it's. The switch pitcher who pitches left and right sides, Ryan Stanky and Yohel Poza. But I mean, they're in full on tank mode. I don't even think I need to waste my breath on the Cardinals. They're not going to be competitive this year. My standings I think the Cubs win the NL Central this year. I got the Reds I think the Reds are going to push at 2. I think the Brewers still stay at that 3 mark. I still think they're a competitive team. I just don't see this pitching staff getting it done this year. But I've been wrong on the Brewers many times before. So if I'm wrong, I guess I'm wrong. I think Pittsburgh can be a little competitive. I think they're going to be better than the 71 wins they had last year. But I don't see them pushing any of those teams. And the Cardinals are not even going to be, which is watchable. They're putting out a lot of prospects, which is sad because St. Louis is a great baseball town. But I mean, I think they're putting all their chips in their young guys, and we won't see the Cardinals if those guys pan out, being competitive for another couple of years. But that's my preview of the NL Central. That's my prediction for the NL Central. I think we do have a Cubs fan on the network, so I do think the Cubs will win the NL Central with that pitching staff they got, with the addition of Cabrera, with Horton coming back for a full year, with Alex Bregman. I do think the Cubs end up winning the NL Central. And a little other before we wrap up, because we are going to be doing a World Baseball Classic preview. Sounds like Alex from these 10th Street Boys is going to jump on and be our Cuban representative right down there, I think. And we'll have Finn Sammy, who just needs to know the date, who's obviously Puerto Rican. He corrected me the one time I said it, and before he gets on, before we do the podcast, I'll make sure I say that Puerto Rico correctly with my accent, my speaking like American. I'll make sure to say it correct for him. But it's looking like February 24th or March 3rd. I'm leaning towards the 24th, but that's going to be a lot of fun when we have those guys, because Cuba and Puerto Rico are in the same are there in San Juan, so that's going to be fun. And but we are having to wrap things up, having a large problem with the World Baseball Classic, and that's involving insurance. Puerto Rico right now feeling the brunt of it. Players like Carlos Correa who didn't get insurance, Javi Baez, who's still pending, and the biggest one would be Francisco Lindor, who was actually the team captain of Team Puerto Rico, who hasn't got cleared. Now, 30-man rosters are supposed to be in and finalized tomorrow, so we'll see what happens. But on the insurance thing, you need to be insured. You don't need to be insured to play, obviously, but if a player gets insured, of my understanding, if a player gets insured, there's MLB as one insurance company that they've vetted and they use. If a player is insured and gets hurt during the World Baseball Classic, the insurance is on the hook for the duration of the injury. Now, if a player decides to play without insurance and gets hurt during the World Baseball Classic, he voids his salary for that year. So that's why we're seeing such a big controversy with insurance, and you're seeing a lot of teams getting hit with some players who can't play, which I don't. Edwin Diaz got. Francisco Lindor doesn't miss baseball games, and he can't get insurance. Now, Edwin Diaz, who literally, tore his ACL jumping up and down with his team in 2023, he's cleared to play. So I don't know how that works. I don't know what the clearing is, but Francisco Lindor is not injury history at all. But I guess the one thing is the insurance company got hit hard in 2023, having to pay out Diaz and Jose Altuve, which were the two bigger ones. But we have seen teams in the past waive that right. Miguel Cabrera could not get insurance, and the Tigers waived it. So, I mean, we'll see. That goes on. Tomorrow will be, if you go on MLB TV, whatever it's called, on your cable, they're doing at 7 Eastern, 4 Pacific, 5 Mountain, 6 Central. They're doing the roster reveal, so we'll get that. But we'll see what happens. I really hope it gets worked out because it's really great to see some of these players. I get it, but don't. Like I'm looking at it and I'm not a big hockey guy, and I think he plays in for the Florida Panthers. What is it? I watched Four Nations last year and loved every minute of it. It was unbelievable. And it's just to see those, that everybody get into it, watching it was great. But the one player I see who played in it and the pride that he had was it Brandon Tkachuk, and he got hurt and wasn't the same all year. So I mean, I really hope it gets worked out because I think this is good for baseball. Baseball's definitely got a lot of good momentum going. So hopefully this insurance thing gets worked out, and at least Lindor and Javi Baez can play because those are big keys for Team Puerto Rico. But I want to thank everybody who tuned in tonight for another episode on deck here on FTSN. I'm Russ Morgan. You have a great night.